course, I'm Joe Woodley, as H has introduced me. Thank you for turning up the volume. I'm not a hooper or hollerer, but I'm going to challenge you guys this morning. I'm going to inspire you, and I'm going to motivate you. I know many of you came here because you want to know how to write a book, or you're interested in writing a book, but I'm going to take it to another level. It's not just about writing a book, it's about leaving a legacy. It's about impacting your community. It's about impacting the nation. Hopefully even transforming your own personal life. Get that set up for me? Thank you so much. So this is going to be very interesting. I was explaining to H a little earlier that I'm so used to doing 4-hour sessions that I've cut down to 45 minutes. So this is going to be very interesting today. So I'm going to be moving very quickly. Your pens are going to be moving very quickly. And we're going to go through this. I may not be able to get into every single technical aspect, but this is going to be exciting. I want to challenge you. Of course, again, this is the power of being an author. And I do leadership and team development training with an emphasis in character and integrity. That's why I work with those organizations doing that, which is what H was talking about. But how did I manage to get into those organizations? How did this happen? How did I get to the place where I am sitting around the table with people who have doctorates, who have their PhDs, who have their master's degree, and I'm helping to make decisions for their organizations and I do not have a degree. Something I want to share with you guys. How did I get to that position? So I'm not bragging on not having a degree. What I'm stating is that nothing can stop you from achieving your goal and your dreams and your ambitions if you're willing to put the time, the energy, and the effort into it. That number there, 1 million. 1 million, what do you think that is? 1 million, that's the number of books that are published every year in the United States alone. 1 million books. It's a huge number. You've got to begin to ask yourself, what separates me? What makes me different? How can I stand out when 1 million people are publishing books every year in the United States alone? So we get this thing going. No other industry has so many new product introductions. The competition out there is tremendous. It's huge. Tremendous competition. But that should not stop you from pursuing your goals and your dreams. I run into people all the time who have been telling me they've been thinking about writing a book for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 years. And they never get to it because they see the competition, or we're going to get to some of the excuses, as I like to call them, lies. I'm going straight down your alley today. That's just how I am. They've been telling me 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 years that they're going to write a book, but they never get to it. They always find an excuse. There's always a reason not to. What you need to find is the one reason to do it, okay? So 1 million people. Again, as I said, I'm going to be flying through this. You can take notes. You got to ask yourself, what is your excuse? Why are you not pursuing your dream? Why are you not pursuing your goal? What is stopping you from taking that next step? The difference between being a writer and being an author. It's a tremendous difference. Anybody can scribble down some notes in a book and say that I'm a writer. I write every Sunday when I'm sitting in that sanctuary taking notes. I'm a writer. But an author has the courage to take that next step. They're willing to stretch themselves and be criticized for what they believe, for what they're speaking. They're willing to be criticized. That's the next step, because everyone is not going to like your product. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. Your book is not for everyone. That's another statement I hear all the time, constantly. I'm like, really, your book is for everyone? Who's your book for? It's for everyone. Really, your book is for everyone? Yes, it's for everyone. Okay, so your book is about murder. That's for everyone? Oh, yes, for everyone. Everyone's going to get something out of it. I can tell you, everyone's going to get something out of it. There's a little bit right there on page 523. There's one sentence there. They're going to get something out of it. Your book is not for everyone. You got to begin to define who your book is for, okay? So what's your excuse? These are the excuses I hear. Oh, I love this. I don't have the time. Now, this is probably the biggest lie that I hear. Again, I like to use the word lie instead of excuses because that's really what it is. You're lying to yourselves. That's really what's going on. Let's look at this number here. Let's see. 34 hours a week are spent watching television. I don't have the time to do this. Oh, let's look at this next number here. Plus, that means we got to add something on here. Plus another 3 to 6 hours are spent watching tape programs. You know, you guys are like watching some of those old movies. You know, what's out there? We got Netflix, we got Hulu. What are some of the others? We got Amazon streaming. Okay, so now we're talking about you're spending the equivalent of a full-time job making excuses for why you can't write a book, why you can't publish a book. That's 40 hours that you're spending, that you're wasting, celebrating someone else, making someone else money, investing in someone else, when you could be creating your own product for people to invest in. When you could be changing lives and inspiring people. That's 40 hours. It's another full-time job. Think about that. The time that you're wasting when you could be impacting someone's life. You could be changing someone's life. Here's the next excuse. It's just not the right time. I'm going to tell you a really quick, sad story. Maybe a little bit of a tearjerker. So, my grandfather passed away when I was 11 years old. I was 11 years old. And he had been telling my grandmother for years that he's going to take her away on vacation. Baby, when I retire, we're going to go away. We're going to go to Florida. We're going to go away. We're going to go see the ocean. We're going to travel overseas. We're going to do the things that you want to do. Baby, when I retire, that's what we're going to do. So my grandfather retires. He says, baby, one day, we're going to go see the ocean. We're going to go down to Florida. We're going to enjoy ourselves. We're going to have a great time. And things are going to be wonderful. We're going to finally get to do that thing that we've been wanting to do for years. You know, that little goal we wrote down in our book. My grandfather passed away. Do you think they made it to Florida? Do you think they got to go see the ocean? They didn't get to fulfill those things because it was always about someday it's going to happen. We're going to eventually get there. Eventually get there. Maybe it's going to happen. That someday means never. You need to remove that word from your vocabulary. Scratch that word out of your vocabulary. I don't want to ever hear you say that word again. Someday it's going to happen. If it's going to be someday, that means it's never going to happen. If your definition of a goal is someday, that means it's never going to happen. Eliminate that word from your vocabulary. I want to see some goals. I want to see some dates. That's what I want to see. That lets me know that you're serious about this thing. Here's the next excuse I hear all the time. No one will be interested in hearing my story. Well, somebody out there want to hear your story. You spend enough time talking about what you're going to do, I'm sure somebody's interested in your story. Here's the next excuse I hear. I'm not a good writer. Why should that stop you? Next excuse I hear. I don't know what to write about. That is a lie from the pit of hell. You do know what to write about because you talk about it every single day. You don't know people's nerves that you're getting on. We keep talking about, I'm going to write about a book about this, or I'm going to write a book about that, or I'm going to change my community when I do this or I do that. You know the things you've been talking about for the last 15, 20 years. You know exactly what you're going to write on. You're just not taking a step of courage that it takes to step out and do it. It takes courage, ladies and gentlemen, to make this happen. So I'm flying through here, okay? So here we go. Here's the truth. The truth is that the world needs to hear your voice. That is the truth. There are people that are waiting on you to speak into their lives. There are people that are waiting for you to write that word down, to get your book out. Oh, it's not about the numbers. There's that one person. We're caught up in, if I can write a book, I'm going to sell 10 million books. But what about the one? That one person that needs to hear that thought, that idea. That one person that you can offer a solution to, who's been struggling. Maybe the person that's been dealing with depression, and you have the answer for that. You You can talk about how God has changed your life, how He's restored you. What about the person that wants to lose weight? Why don't you write a diet book? Talk about how you got yourself in shape. Well, I can go on and on and on. What about writing a book about cooking? I read a book the other day, some friends of mine had. It was a cooking book, but it was also a life book. It didn't just talk about this is how you prepare these meals. It talked about this is when you prepare the meals. This talk about the love that goes into the meals. This talk about how the meals are served. What about that? Oh, you've been talking about it for 20 years. Now it's time to put it into action. Here's the truth. Your words are the answer to someone's prayers. They're the answer to someone's prayers. Someone has been praying for an answer. God, what do I need to do about this situation? Your book has the answer to their prayers. It does. Whether you believe it or not, your book has that answer. Here's the next one. Your book is designed to meet someone's needs. There's a need that needs to be met, and it's not being met because you won't do what you're supposed to do. Here's the next truth. Your testimony is going to set you free. Before it sets anyone else free, your testimony is going to set you free. My first book that I wrote, I thought was going to change the world. I did. It was entitled When the Prodigal Son Becomes the Father. Oh, I had this deep theological title to it. When the prodigal son becomes the father, recognizing the past, reclaiming the future. Ooh, goosebumps, right? And I'm thinking this book is going to really change the world, inspire the world. What I come to find out, though, was the book was more about me than it was about other people. It was about me finding my freedom and my restoration. See, the book was about my journey to being restored back to Christ. That's what the book was about. I talk about the angers and the anxieties I dealt with and how I left the church and went out to the world and I became an expert heathen. I was a real heathen. Every other word out of my mouth, you needed a beat for. I was living rough, okay? And I talk about this journey, but what I discovered was, as I'm writing this book, there were areas of my life that I had not been restored. There was areas of my life that had not been healed. So I'm writing this book with the intent of touching someone else's life, but I'm really changing my own life. I'm really discovering, hey, Joe, there's some areas that you need to work on. Hey, Joe, there's some missing pieces here. It took me 2 years to write a book that was less than 200 pages. Because I would write about things and I would break down in tears. Because I found out I had not adequately addressed some of the issues in my own personal life. Things that happened in my past. And so as I'm writing this book, I'm then finding healing as I'm writing this book. And here's something else I discovered, which is very important. I was changing the world. Because in order for me to change the world, I needed to be in the right position, the right mindset, spiritually, physically, in every area in order to step out and do what God had called me to be, and everything He called me to do. I could not do that until I was in the right place. So my first book was about me getting it right. That's what the first book was about. I needed to get it right. Okay? Then you set other people free, and here's the truth. The power of God is behind your words. This is where we're missing. The power of God is behind your words. You're not just throwing words out there willy-nilly and hoping it's going to touch someone's life, hoping it's going to transform someone's life. You're not just hoping that. The power of God is behind your words. Do you know the Word of God says that every word that comes out of your mouth, every single word that comes out of your mouth has power, has life. You can speak life or death into a situation by what comes out of your mouth. Your words have power. So whatever you speak or whatever you write in that book is going to either bring life or it's going to bring death to a situation. You've got to monitor and position and make sure that you're positioned properly so what comes out of your mouth is not bringing destruction. Because that's ultimately, I'm sure, the majority of people in here are believers. Am I correct? Okay, so the majority of people are believers. You may be kind of tiptoeing on the fence a little bit, but you kind of know that Jesus is real. Okay, so this is my audience today, right? So you know that then you got to monitor the words that come out of your mouth. And when you're putting them down on that paper, when somebody reads that, they're going to pick up whatever's on that piece of paper and it's going to become a part of who they are. So if you're speaking healing in that book, they're going to find healing. If you're speaking transformation and restoration, they're going to find transformation and restoration. But if you're all about doom and gloom and the world's coming to an end and life is over and you better watch out because a brick might fall off a building and knock you in the head one day, well, they're going to go the other direction as well. And they're going to live a life that's anxious and not free and not delivered and not restored and not healed. And that's not what our job is. Our job is to bring healing and restoration to the lives of people around us. That's our great commission. Your words have power. Here's the proof. Proverbs 18 and 21. If you needed me to back that up, they have power. You got to watch what comes out of your mouth and what you're putting down on that paper. Okay? So here's how we're going to get started. That's what you guys have been waiting for. You're like, okay, you got us primed up now. We're ready to go. All right? So here's how we're going to get started. Again, I'm not going to get into too many technical aspects because I really need a 4 or 5 hour group in order to do that. But we're going to start getting you guys started, okay? Number one, here we go. You're going to just start writing. What am I going to write about? You're just going to start writing. But what's the sentence structure? You're just going to start writing. I'm not good at my penmanship. You're just going to start writing. That's the number one thing. You've got to get started. You're waiting on something. You're waiting for a sign. Well, here's your sign. Get started. Well, I don't know. I don't have the time. I'm telling you, you have the time. You're wasting it watching TV. You are. And doing all the other things you have no business doing. Wasting time. You don't want to be like my grandfather. Wonderful man. I loved him to death. But you know what? Someday never came about. And what are we doing that word someday? Where are we putting it? In the trash. We're crossing it out. You will never utter that word again. Someday it's going to happen. You need to ask God what he wants you to say. As you're writing, he will bring revelation to you. That's how it works. You want to know how I do it? That's how it works. That's the truth. You want to know why my books are 5-star on Amazon across the board? You want to know why that happens? Because I ask God what he wants me to say. Not just what Joe wants to say, but God, what do you want me to say? You need some revelation. Something that's going to be different. Because anybody can pick up a book, let's say on finances. There's about 50,000 books out there on finances. Why should I get your book? There needs to be some spiritual revelation in that book that inspires me to pick your book up out of all the other books on it. There needs to be some anointing on your book. That's going to make me say, I need to get your book. All right? You're not going to obsess over the grammar. You know, we're writing and we kind of, I don't like that. I'm going to ball it up and throw it in the trash. And you're still on sentence number 1 with once upon a time. Once upon a time. No, you're going to just write and forget about the grammar. That's what the editor is for. That's right. The editor comes in there and they do all the correcting. They help you to build your sentence structure right. You put the comma here. You put the semi